really experienced experts. Well, I think we're all going to learn from them today. And then I'll do a little bit of introduction and then give them the opportunity to tell us about themselves. I'll start with Professor Grace Latte. Professor Grace Latte holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in health education from the University of Toledo, Ohio. She has been a faculty member at the Western Kentucky University, USA since 2006. She's currently the director of the Bachelor of Science in Public Health program. Her research is focused on infection, spread and control, school, workplace, and community safety, injury prevention, international health, adolescent and women's health and chronic diseases among populations and communities. Our next panelist, Dr. Lawrence Dakwa. Dr. Dakwa has been teaching at the Chemical Engineering Department at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology for the past 15 years. His research interests are in fuel production, analysis, and their value chain. He has consulted for UNIDO, African Union, and other private organizations in various capacities. Our next panelist is Dr. Brew Hammond. Dr. Brew is the CEO and founder of Here to Grow Cosmetic and Home Care Labs and has established a state-of-the-art product development and testing lab facility in Selby, UK. He's a highly sought-after beauty and FMCG product development scientist and formulator, and has developed cutting-edge personal care technologies for Unilever, sun care products for advanced nanotech, and effective healthcare product for leading trichologists in the UK. As a leading, Dr. Brew has also developed effective high-end beauty products specifically designed for African American and African European markets. That's interesting. He, he was appointed a business advisor board member to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana, working alongside the sanitation minister. He's a regular guest lecturer at the Hall University Business School, where he delivers lectures on entrepreneurship. Our last panelist is Dr. Yao Anue. Dr. Anue graduated from the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore in 2015 with a PhD in biological sciences, specializing in molecular genetics and cell biology. He's currently a research fellow at the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Disease at the University of Ghana. He is also the Crick African Can Fellow at the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Diseases. He was also a former research associate at the lab of Professor Peter Preiser at the School of Biological Science at the Nanyang Technological University. Viewers, these are your audience. And audiences, these are your panelists. So, Prof, we go straight into the program of the day. Can you please, I know, I have said a little bit about you, but can you please give us a deep insight about who Professor Latte is?
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Meniampo. I'm a Ghanaian by birth, lived in Ghana for pretty much most of my life. I moved to the US late 1999 because I got an opportunity to further my education. So I moved here to start with my master's degree and immediately moved to my PhD. So I did attend the University of Toledo for my major and then the Medical College of Ohio for my minor. And then right after I got this opportunity to move here to be a faculty member at the Western Kentucky University. I did have several offers, but their program presented a lot more than what I had anticipated. And I had the opportunity to rise and work very quickly and rise up very quickly. That's how I jumped on this opportunity. And that's why I find myself here.
That's nice. I'll really come back to you. Dr. Brew, can you please give us a little bit insight about who you are?
Well, my background is started slightly different. I completed my master's degree in Germany, where I was working for the Fraunhofer Society, developing all different kinds of technologies based on data storage and colloid science. And from that point on, after I finished my master's, I actually got a scholarship to do some formulation work with Unilever in the UK. So I moved to the UK in 1998 to start my career, where I started, and also working for corporate companies in the research and development departments, which was a great learning curve for me, because I didn't, that's exactly the opportunity which I needed. And I'm very thankful to my bosses in the past who gave me the opportunity to have a playground in my lab and just learn and make mistakes. That's what you need to do as a scientist, you need to make mistakes. And with that, I also started working for bigger corporate organizations. But I have a fairly entrepreneurial mind. So I am not the typical corporate person which people want. So I had to lead my own organization, and that happened when I moved to France. I lived in France for 2 years as well, where I was working for Dow Chemicals as a technical service leader. And my client relationships were fantastic. And my mentor told me, you need to set up your own company, leave the company, particularly they're struggling anyway, this company. So that's what I did. And that's how my story started.
Okay. It's good to have you on our show.
Thank you.
Dr. Anue, can you please give us an insight of who you are?
Thank you. My name is Yao Aniwa. I did my PhD in Singapore. I studied the role of how the mechanism by which malaria parasites enter red blood cells from 2011 to 2015. Then after the PhD, I stayed on for a research associate position for 1 year, still continuing what I was doing there. Then 2016, I moved down to Ghana to take up a position. I did a postdoctoral position at the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens. So 2018, then I converted into full faculty at the University of Ghana, but still under the West African Center. Still continuing my work on infectious diseases, but specifically focusing on malaria, which is our major problem in this end. Then I later on took another fellowship. This allowed me to still increase my research capacity with the Francis Crick Institute. And it's a career accelerator program, and it's called the Crick African Network, that is CAN. So I am there as a CAN fellow up to the end of 2021. So I did my undergraduate from University of Cape Coast on laboratory technology. So just a nutshell, this is Aniwe.
Thank you for having you on our show and for honoring our invitation. Dr. Lawrence Dakwa, I mean, I have known you for 15 years, so left to me alone, I can give a good description about you to our viewers, but I would give you the opportunity to do that yourself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Aminiampo, for this opportunity, and good afternoon again to my colleague panelists. Lawrence is a PhD holder in chemical engineering, coming from a varied background of engineering and science. I did a postgraduate in science in industrial biotechnology after I had finished first degree in the then UST, having read metallurgical engineering degree. So I worked a bit in industry after my postgraduate degree in Liverpool John Moores University. And then in 1997, I started off working Anglo Gold, now Anglo Gold Ashanti. in Obuasi mine specifically, where we used bacteria to process minerals, leaching gold. And then I had the opportunity to work in their metallurgical services, which is like the R&D section of the company for a while. So I got quite a lot of opportunities to do industrial research. After 4.5 years, I realized I wasn't fully satisfied, and some of the issues we'll discuss during the program. So I got the opportunity to get a Commonwealth scholarship to go and do my PhD in Birmingham University in chemical engineering. And from then, I have merged into the environmental engineering and petroleum-related processing works. So in a nutshell, 2005, I got the opportunity to start my work teaching and research work in KM University as a lecturer. Specifically, I got the offer a year before, whilst I was finalizing my PhD. So my cases are slightly unique and different, but I think that's what I bring to the discussion this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Doc. So I move back to you, Professor Grace Latte. What inspired you to do a PhD? And how did you end up as a faculty member at Western Kentucky University?
All right, thank you, Dr. Meniampo. My passion has always been to teach and to be a college teacher. Let me put it that way, to be a college teacher. So I realized right from the beginning that if that was my ultimate goal, I needed to have the PhD. Because if you don't have it, you have to struggle over there. One, you may not even gain entry. And if you gain entry, you may not never go up. You'll be stuck at one level. So I decided to rather finish with the PhD before going into academia, because I had taught at the lower levels for a little bit before moving to the US. So that was my goal, and I made sure I pursued it, and I pursued it vigorously.
And how did you end up as a faculty member at the Western Kentucky University?
All right. Well, during my last year, the third year into my program, my fellowship, I was on a presidential fellowship. The fellowship ended, but I was not done with my program. So I did work as an pediatric injury prevention specialist with a large children's hospital for a year while I was finishing up my dissertation. So that was the year that I started applying to universities for appointments, because they open over here, they do open the positions in the fall, August. So for the following year. So I started applying whilst working, and I did apply to 6 schools. I interviewed with all 6 of them. I was offered the assistant professor position by all 6 of them. So I had 5 in my pocket, and I got this last one. Actually, my mentor found it, and he said, okay, let's go for this number 6 and see what would happen. So I did apply. They called me for the interview, and then I didn't know much about it, but apparently they had called my advisor and said they were highly interested. So my advisor asked them about the offer, and they told him, and he said, okay, let me be upfront with you. She already has 5 offers. You go up a little bit, and I'm going to make her come there. So he did negotiate it a little bit, and actually it was more. He negotiated for another $10,000. And since they were really looking for the skills that I had, the skill sets that I had, they put it on the table, put down a $3,000 research startup fund, added $2,000 for my office equipment. So technically they added then put $1,000 for my moving expenses. So they put $16,000 on top of the initial offer. And he came in, he called me from the hospital and he said, okay, this is where you're going. And I said, yes, sir. So that is how I found myself here. And I have not regretted in any day for moving here.
If that's interesting, if I'm not very wrong, you originally Ghanaian, and right,
Yes, I am.
and after your PhD, during your application processes as to be a faculty member, was there any point in time that you considered moving back to Ghana? And if you did, why did you not decide to move back to Ghana instead of staying in the US? I think moving back to Ghana, your services will be much more needed than staying in the States. Why did you choose the other as against moving back?
Well, I know if I have to be honest with you, I really didn't even want to pursue the PhD. Right after my master's degree, I wanted to go back home because my whole family lived back at home. I missed home. I missed my child, and it was rough. Going through my master's program was pretty rough. So I wanted to go home. I did visit a year into my program, and actually, I went back after my second year. So my first year, when I went back, I did go back to the University of Cape Coast to visit a few friends, and everyone had moved on. I mean, everyone was pursuing their master's degrees. And I said, oh, okay. I didn't gain anything, even though I traveled outside. So when I started the discussions with my family, everybody asked me why I was throwing away the opportunity of pursuing my PhD, because I was in another place where the opportunity was there. So why would I want to go back home? So it was more of a family initiated decision, which, well, that's been your goal. So guess what? Just take it on and head on. So I did apply to 3 institutions for my PhD. And there are other degrees, but I wanted the PhD. So I did gain admission. I did not gain into one of them, Urbana-Champaign, but I did gain another 2. Actually, I gained 3. One was a Doctor of Education at the Northern Iowa University. Then South Illinois gave me a PhD, and then the University of Toledo gave me a PhD. But the University of Toledo their program was unique because you had the opportunity to branch all the way out and do something else in your minor in addition to your major, which I felt was important to get the skill sets in another area to make me a little bit more marketable. And I really had wanted to choose something that was a little bit easy, but come back to when I know Dr. James Price, he was my mentor, and he came, there were 2 of us, myself and another physician from Nigeria. He called us to his office and said, I'm going to be very upfront with you too. Out of the cohort of 18, we were 2 foreign students. And he said, when you graduate, you're going to compete for positions with all these people. Remember, you are foreigners. You will not be successful. So in order to beat everybody, I'm sending you to the medical college to do statistics. This is an area that most of these other people, we call them the domestic students, people who are from here. This is a hard science area. They are running away from it. No one wants to do that. But I know you two can do it. You'll be successful. So go and do that. And we really appreciate him for it, because looking back at the 18 of us, only 4 managed to start in academia. Actually, 1 left. So it's just 2 of us plus another 1 who stayed in academia. And the others, I mean, a couple of them are not even working. They are stay at home dads or moms. So pretty much that's the opportunity that I got to be able to stay in the field. And that is what, so this university was looking for someone to direct their Bachelor of Public Health program. And this is a science-based program. So they really needed a statistician. So they were, in their eyes, they were killing 2 birds with a stone, getting a faculty member who would direct their program, and also getting a statistician who would teach their statistics courses for them, and all in 1 person. So instead of hiring 2 people to do 2 different jobs, they hired 1 person to do 2 different jobs. And that's how I found myself here.
Okay. I'll come back to you because I still feel that my question wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, probably you answered my question, but maybe I was expecting a different answer. So you don't
Okay,
worry.
sure.
I'll
All
come
right.
back to you.
Absolutely.
Dr. Bro, it's not every day that you get to see an amazing Black scientist. What really inspired you to be a scientist?
Well, to be honest, I was fortunate to be um, to have this passion of creating because I'm actually more a creative person. And in science, this is a very strong element which people underestimate. In order to be successful, you must obviously do problem solving. And problem solving is achieved through different approaches. One of the key approaches is creativity. So obviously you stay within the bounds of, of the rules. You have your craft, the science, you know your stuff, yeah. But to solve a problem, you need to connect dots, yeah. And it's sometimes very difficult to find the way. How do we get from A to B? And this is something which I was really inspired to do, because one um, one flame which was lit was created by working again during my studies in Germany, which were extremely tough. It was very tough because you can imagine I'm the only black person, one of the only black person. It's psychologically a lot of pressure. It's very competitive. It's very lonely. I mean, just even forgetting the skin color, just that concept itself in any country, if you study in Ghana or wherever, in Poland, whatever, you are on your own. And that lonely journey um, led me to go to an organization which was called the Fraunhofer Society. Excuse me. And they are very important for me because they actually gave me the opportunity to be creative. So they treated me amazingly nice because they're very open-minded. And so it's like that environment where you open the door into the building and it's almost like a spaceship. You walk in and they've got the shiny equipment in all the different corners of the room. The people are casual. They're very smart, but they listen to your ideas, you know? And that environment really inspired me. And that made me struggle less in my university because I was really, really, holding on to make sure that I'll make it. And once I had this spark, I started having obviously different mentors, and that's something which is very important. I think having the mentor. That's what my first mentor said to me. Well, Henry, um, you were working in a clean room and you were creating thin films on glass, and I had several samples. And he said, what I noticed, you call these your babies. And then he said, you call them your babies because you're extremely passionate about this, aren't you? So, yeah, I am actually. And I'll be in the clean room to 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, nobody around. Yeah. And obviously that was my first publication. The president of the organization did not want to put my name on it, although I had done the work. But because I was an undergraduate, those dynamics which you guys know. And it was really an interesting time. But for me, the key milestones were my mentors. And he put that seed in my head that I have to follow that passion. Because every time when I'd be myself and immerse myself into my work, the results were fantastic, were brilliant. Yeah? And so I tried to kind of use that in my further life and in my further career. And from that then on, when I had these first successes, I noticed that, okay, I can't do much in this environment in Germany, because I'm going to hit the glass ceiling for PhD. So I had to move from Germany to the UK. And basically what I did, I just went on the internet. I was where the internet came up, and there were different PhD opportunities which were offered. And it was like kind of, again, my creative side. I was using more my feeling than my rationale. I was going through a list of opportunities, and then I saw, oh, this is a guy, he's called Dr. Bloor, and they're working with Unilever. That sounds quite nice. I like his name. It's very bizarre. That's really, I'm not joking. That's really what I did. Yeah. It's very irrational, but that was very important to me to do so. So I called him up with my naivety, wrote a nice email to him and said, you know, I'm very interested to work with in this area, because it's got to do with ceramics as well. And he agreed to look at it, my application. I had to send my, you know, my certifications through, and the barriers were so low, and I was totally surprised, because I come from a, you know, I come from a very a different environment. You know, when you're in Germany, it's a different environment. So, you know, it's a very restrictive environment. You know, everything is taken care for, of their rules. Everything is solid. You can't go outside of that. And I broke out of that. And so I flew over, and it was just a revelation for me, because I learned new skills as well, because I am obviously African German, a Ghanaian German, and then I had to kind of open up to my, you know, to the world, and that was the UK. And from there, I created some further, you know, experiences, and my supervisor was my second mentor, you know, and he was guiding me, you know, and going through the pain barrier of having a PhD. So I think the key thing for me, I must say, were the mentors. They don't appear to be mentors at the moment when they are here. You know, they're like kind of people who appear from nowhere, and then they say certain things to say a sentence, and then you listen. You have to listen, and that's a kind of your guiding light for the next step.
I mean, you are also unquestionably a successful entrepreneur. But how did your PhD help you to establish your company? You know, there is this notion that traditionally, after your PhD, you find a postdoc, and then you look for a faculty position, and you become a lecturer or a university professor. I mean, this is one of the things that most young people who do not want to end up in the academia are looking at, that is preventing them from venturing into a PhD. So, I mean, how do you marry the two, your PhD and your company?
Okay, from that perspective, I do not separate them. Let me explain. So, if you look at the PhD, a PhD in the academic setting, you have that environment. I have been obviously there as well, where it's important obviously to have your publications, and to have your network, to do your research, to have good research outcomes, have collaborations with industry, perhaps for applications or for future applications of the work you do. That's one side of it. Yeah, that's got their own dynamics, and they've got the universities have got their own kind of objectives, and then you've got the industry, where it's about the economic side of making money, of course. Yeah, but also being innovative, and working on things which are real, things which really matter as well. Yeah. So bringing that together, what I learned, and again, I go back to my mentor, Dr. Bloor, Dr. Derek Bloor, the late Dr. Derek Bloor. He passed on a few years ago. Very sad, but he did. And he said, the the reason why you're doing a PhD, and that was very clear, and that's what we need to understand. What is a PhD? A PhD is a level of education where you are tasked to work on a subject which nobody else in the world, nobody, no one single person, it's only you, yeah, who is working on this. You are the only one who knows about this, yeah, and you'll be working on this for 4 or 5 years, or for how long, yeah, and you become an expert in that. So that's the first step. The second thing is, the PhD, you will be able to become independent researcher. That's something which we underestimate. It's very, this is clear, isn't it? You become independent. So if somebody would give you, and I'm just making this up, would give you, let's say, $10,000 and say, here's a lab, okay? Just a bench. You know, you can do something in biosciences or, you know, engineering. It's your PhD. You should be able to set up a business. That's what I discovered, this process. A PhD gives you opportunities, yeah, gives you tools in your hands. But I think the notion which is peddled for a long time is that, you know, as you said, the traditional way, you know, you do your PhD, postdoc, you know, and then you land in, no. Because you find some PhDs also, of course, in industry, but it's a very, very powerful tool because you can become independent. With a master's, probably not. With a PhD, you will, and I'll tell you why. Because you get a 360 overview of things. Okay, when you've got your PhD, actually, and I am a person in the industry. I'm known a little bit to break the rules in terms of thinking because of my creative side of things. But what's happened is that it's very important to check these things out for yourself. You know, like investigate these things for yourself. But I think that a PhD opens doors in many areas.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So for our viewers, if you have questions, you can please write your questions at the question and answer section, and we will be asking them on your behalf to our esteemed panelists. Dr. Dakwa.
Yes, sir.
What inspired you to do a PhD?
Yeah, that's a multi-million question I get asked several times. One major driver was like Dr. Brew mentioned, the independence in thinking, and then the freedom that is associated in exploring. I'm sorry to take it that from the other side, on his side. When you are usually working in the research, in the industry, I was seeing it as being in a box because the outcomes are specified or the expectations are already done by your employers. Let me do it in reverse. Your employers would have solicited for money or would have had their own money. Then now they tell you that take A, B, and we expect you to produce Z. So then you are invariably in a box. That's how I was seeing myself. But I wanted to be that independent thinker, like Henry was mentioning, have the freedom that is associated with the academic life. Then, as I question the status quo, because like I mentioned severally, you are aware of that, and I empower my students with that, because the status quo is just an option. It's one of the many possible options out there. But we've been growing up in an environment where the status quo is seen as the only way. So I was also like that, questioning, why should this be done? And as I was working in industry, it was becoming monotonous. That you wake up, you go, and then that's the established line of production. So if it is petroleum, it is well established, SOP. You take your crude, you put it this quantity in that particular device, and you can tell how much, if all things being equal, how much of each fraction is coming in. If it doesn't work, you go in. That's then when you do the troubleshooting. And most of these troubleshootings have also been developed as part of the plant development. So my issue was, who were the people who were developed those plants, those equipment? How did they come by them? That curiosity of developing things, so that innate part of me, which I had found when I was growing up in my upbringing, I realized that that had not been satisfied. So yes, I had some level, but it was not completely given out. Again, the academia side of PhD holder, and one of the objectives is that you teach during school, from secondary school to university days. I liked, and the easiest way for me to learn was to teach others. So I learn, I get to a certain point, then I try to explain it to other colleagues. I kept it. I understood it better. Sometimes they also pose greater and bigger challenges or questions. Then that led me to research further. Other times, some members of the team would also come from different perspectives and explain their point. Then you add to what you already know. So then I realized that that exchange, I was lacking it, that freedom of that exchange was lacking much more in the industrial settings. Not that in the industrial settings, yes, you work in teams, but you were relatively fixed because it's becoming repetitive. Every day you know how to do it. So then there was that bit of me that was left, and that was in the classroom. The next one was the impartation of knowledge, because I also believe that there should be sustainability, even in knowledge and knowledge transfer. So, and I thought that, and I saw that our forefathers or forebearers had some deficiencies. Some people kept some of the information to themselves or limited it to certain scopes. So then the subsequent generations suffered and lacked the knowledge. And that's why some of us are where we are. I will push it in this discussion a bit. How come that Africa lost the civilization? At a certain point, we were leading civilization in the Egyptian and the Malian Empire and all those things. Where did we go wrong? Where did we lose track? So things like that, the philosophical questions were not, I wasn't getting the answers. And the answers for me were in going to higher education, reading more, finding out, checking with others, comparing. And that engagement, that satisfaction for me lied in academia, not in industry. So having acquired it, having the skills to transfer, then also being happy that others are picking from you and building it up. These three were the things that motivated me to go into academia.
Okay, Doc. You had a privilege to have experience, some level of experience in the industry prior to moving on for a PhD. And after your PhD, don't you think, or didn't you think that moving back with all the knowledge that you gained during your PhD to the industry would have paid off? I mean, now you have learned how to be more innovative. So it would have translated into what you do in the industry, because this is what we want in Africa. Industries needs to be innovative in the way they do things. And that's where we need more people with PhD, with the scientific knowledge to be able to push things. And that way we would change how people see PhD holders. What is your opinion on that?
That's a good question. And I see it as a catch-22 situation. And what I mean by that is the chicken and egg. You need to establish a technology line to produce, like Professor Brew is making maybe some formulations and getting products out of it. Okay. But as soon as you go in there and you change even one ingredient, the ratio, he will tell you, you end up with a different product. In as much as you want varied products, those who have also established the business lines do not want to continuously be turning new products and different products, because they will have to establish a quality assurance mechanism. So anything that does not meet that particular specification will be rejected as being defective. Because they have established the business, when you do the plant design and economics of the production, you now come to that production line and you establish it. But in trying to improve it is one thing. So product improvement is one thing that you can do research on. Product development, new product development, innovation, if I understand your question, is also another thing. Then that one will go purely into the research and development arm. That I don't dispute. So that's why if you come to places like Ghana and South Africa, we have the CSIRs. The CSIRs. So they are well-established institutes for purely for research to turn out. And people over there are holding the higher degrees, PhDs, professors, equivalents, scientists, and their sole aim is to just think about new products every day. But we also need to also transfer that skill or that knowledge base from one generation to the other. Somebody's got to fill that gap, and that's the teaching part. So if you look at it, it is in the academia that those three-pronged approaches or three objectives are satisfied. One, in teaching. So those ones, you take the fundamental things, well established, the methodology, how things are done. Then you teach the younger ones how it is done. Then as you are teaching them, you also poke these innovative ideas into it. So if you were to come directly and answer your question, if I were to have gone back to the industry, yes, I might have been helping in innovating a particular set of products for that particular industry. But for my personal objective of transferring knowledge, of opening myself up wider for greater, bigger research, and for impacting society through services, we call it outreach service, or you can say impactful research, then I would have missed the other two, the teaching and then the societal impact. I would have met the middle one. So I think that that's where academia has an advantage over the industrial PhD holders. So they go specifically into that, do their innovation, do their products, and then there it goes. But there's also a small paradigm shift, which I encourage, and I still want Africa to push that. I think in Europe, they have seen it much more. The closer network and the intertwined relationship between industry and academia.
Look, I would cut you short on that. We'll come to that. It's part of our critical topic to discuss today. So I'll cut you short. I'll cut you short a bit. But this is an interesting topic. Yeah. We'll revisit. Dr. Noe, what inspired you to do a PhD? Was your PhD quite easy for you?
My journey into PhD is something, I mean, for me, it's a little funny because number one, I finished undergraduate, University of Cape Coast in Ghana. I moved to the medical school. They had just started the medical school, so I could be there as a tutor, helping one or two things. In there, I saw something which I started doing, which was in the medical school, they have what is called community medicine, in where we take these medical students to villages and leave them there for 3 months, and then they come back. It was more specific for University of Cape Coast Medical School. So I will go there with them in the village. I was their technician, so I will help them in analyzing every other thing. And then The whole thing was like, is this what you want to do? Number one. Number two, we were seeing some patterns in the community. That was one big inspiration. So before I came from one of the outreaches, I had written a grant and won $5,000 to do my own independent research as a junior faculty. Just a tutor, just helping with it. So I started from that end. Then the whole thing is that, guy, your passion is more about research. So if you want to do research, why not build it higher? So from that level, then I now applied to do a PhD. So I moved from the undergraduate straight to the PhD. And to be real with you, I think mostly what we encounter informs most of the decisions we make. Number two, also the interactions we have in our environment, also with the people that we meet. And to your surprise, that time in University of Cape Coast, there weren't so many PhD holders as faculty members. And therefore, the time when the directive had come that to be a university lecturer, you need a PhD. So you can imagine. So we, the younger guys who were not necessarily faculty, now think, why not take advantage of this opportunity, motivate yourself enough to pursue a PhD. So that is the motivation for me pursuing a PhD. Was the PhD easy? No. Like Dr. Dakwa and Brew and Prof. Latte all mentioned, the PhD is a problem-solving microenvironment. Let me put it this way. It's a microenvironment where you need to fish out something and bring out. Like Harry clearly mentioned it. You want to do it and let it be said that Prince did this during his PhD. When you hand in your booklet, it should announce you. That was the whole thing. So for me, I moved to Singapore. Yes, I had other opportunities, to be real with you, to do PhD elsewhere. But at the time and the motivation, which was more from the infectious disease background, I taught the Singapore lab because I had earlier interacted with a professor before, so I knew in a way the intensity of research in the lab. So I took that opportunity with a scholarship offered from the Singapore government.
Okay, good. That was quite a nice one. I had the opportunity to be with Yao in the same university. We graduated from PhD in the same year. So he has been a colleague since 2012, and I was quite honestly surprised when he took the decision to move back home, because I know the level of passion he has in research. And then, to be honest, moving back to Ghana in Africa, where science and research is not taken seriously, but having a PhD means you end up in the academia. And I know that his passion is in research and not necessarily standing in front of students and teaching them. So if I may, what really motivated you to take this decision?
Okay, I mean, there is a lot of factors. As I mentioned, the interactions, that is one thing. So during the PhD, I am somebody that takes my learning more from my personal perspective to direct what I learn than just the PhD supervisor directing. So most of the time, to be real with you, Prince will bear me out on this. I had a lot of friction with my PhD supervisor, a lot. Partly because I knew what I was doing and I knew the direct translational impact of that if it is to be taken up in an African environment. After the PhD, I had postdocs in MIT, I had postdocs in Harvard, I have postdoc in University of Pennsylvania. I had a lot. And he went backdoor to arrange all those with a purpose to not let me come home because he was totally against me coming to Ghana. Okay, somebody doing malaria research. Where is malaria felt much? Number one. Number two, I might sit in the US to do malaria research, but my research is a plastic research in the way that it does not necessarily translate into the eye of the clinic. being closer to the patient gives me that. And anyone that knows me knows that I go to the clinic every now and then. There is a part of the research in my case, and by the motivation I'm riding on, that I believe we have to make it translational, not necessarily publish and leave. The other thing is that there is this part of academia people don't know. And in a part of Africa, it is in there, but it is not amplified. There is a research end in academia. So you don't necessarily have to be a hardcore researcher, or sorry, a hardcore lecturer. You could take a position in a university and you just say that I want to be a researcher. And to me, to be real with you, it has helped me. And anyone that knows me knows that I am very passionate with the little environment, and with that research opportunity, which is in the universities, I have the opportunity to now ask the questions that I see and think they will directly impact either care delivery or health at any particular time. So these are the motivations that drove me back to Ghana. Much more, I think a year before I came to Ghana, I had interaction with my current director, because he had just won the African Centers of Excellence grant and won another big grant for developing excellence leadership in Africa, which is by the Wellcome Trust. So the whole thing clicked for me, because he was just like, he called me on recommendation from another professor from Will Cornell, that you need this guy in your center. So he called me, I was like, guy, come home, let's build. And to be real with you, it has been refreshing ever since.
But Doc, one thing you said that I partially don't agree. Maybe Dr. Dakwa or Professor Latte might help. I mean, you being a faculty member in Ghana, any university in Ghana, we know that, okay, you are given the tools to lecture. I mean, you don't even have a lab space to do research. And so how do you end up becoming a researcher? You have the title as a researcher, but practically you are not doing anything as a researcher. Dr. Dakwa, this is a follow-up question. Can you help us on that?
Okay, Prince, that's a big one. But I'll make a good attempt. Everybody will support me.
I mean, wait.
Yes.
In this case, it's an open discussion, so I don't need to mention a particular person. We can all just jump in.
Contribute. Yes. Just to build on Dr. Aniwe's statement in there, and put it, we call it research fellow. What he mentioned as a pure researcher in the university. In our university, we call that office a research fellow. And even that, nowadays, we give a very small quota of teaching load, very limited. Because whatever research that you do, you have to find a way of transferring it. You publish the papers. It still has to be known. The skills, the techniques would have to be given to the next generation. So you cannot separate the research purely from the teaching. They are intertwined, Prince. So yes, one may come as a research fellow. The title is given, the job description is given. The major challenge there that we have in those areas, and for all of us as even lecturers, is getting the funding. And that means that you must have the skills of a grantsmanship.
Yeah. May I make
yes,
a
please.
contribution here? Thank you so much for
Yes,
jumping in. I think that's a very key area which you've mentioned, Lawrence. It's the funding.
Yeah.
In fact, obviously, as you know, I'm working on the board with KNUST, and you know, from a business perspective, my role there is to assist from a commercial, from a business side, in terms of as a company, Yeah. And one thing which universities may need to understand, and I think that that's also relates to KNUST itself, as an example. I found that over the years, the universities have been receiving a little bit of funding and have been investing it in certain areas. I think, and I can see that is about the investment. I don't think that necessarily there's no money at all. I think that is the investment. Now, I'm coming again, this is the economic side of my mind. Yeah, it's not academia, this is the economic side. So instead of, for example, investing in one, let's say, employing an extra staff member, yeah, for a year, you will, again, the proverbial, you will create a bench, yeah. And I did some training in 2017 in Ghana for early career scientists in Ghana, yeah. Also organized by KNUST. And I gave them an example how this could be achieved. How do you make money? How everything is all about big numbers, and that's the mistake. People think it's about big numbers. It is not.
No.
It's obvious. It's actually it's pocket money. That's what I would argue. I'll give you an example. Yeah. So, for example, in Ghana we have an issue. For example, with some of the soil because it's contaminated from mining, yeah, and because then some people dig up in the backyard and then contaminate the water resources. We've got a big issue with that. So, for example, what you could do, you could buy a pH meter, yeah, for $15. A pH meter, handheld pH meter, yeah, yeah. And you can save up for that. It's one person. Then you offer your services to different companies. You said, I'm going to measure the pH of your soil. Yeah, there are several organizations. You measure the soil, and then you charge 10 cedis, so I don't know, 20 cedis from that. Yeah, and what you're telling them, for example, okay, now I know your soil is contaminated. You need to do something about it. Don't use this part of the soil. Now you've done business. Okay. Now you go somewhere else. Go to a restaurant. They do the same thing. Before you know it, you've got a couple of hundred cities. And it doesn't stop there. And that was just equipment for 15. Now I've just scaled that up now to a university which has got large amounts of money. What you do, the same thing, you get a bench and you buy maybe 4 pH meters. Yeah. And you say, okay, I am going to get some soil samples from different places. And these companies need to pay. And their value for them is that the value you're going to save lives because people are not going to mine there. So these are the business you can build. And you can make it obviously bring more value to them as well by having more different equipment. And you can actually spin off. So what I'm trying to say is the expertise in the universities need to be monetized. And the investment, instead of looking outside, and that's the thing, that's the issue with Africa, it's there. The money is there. I'll give you another example. I know for sure, also in Ghana, there's a clay type which we have in Ghana. You can make bricks out of them. You may have heard it already. You can make bricks out of them and build a house without cement. So the price of the house will come down. Instead of, let's say, $150,000, it'll cost you only $50,000 to build a house. It has got interesting properties. When you build a house like that, you will, it stays cool inside, yeah? When it's hot outside, and vice versa, when it's cool, it restores the heat. And this is amazing technology innovation. And people need to know their own value because there's a lot of innovation in Ghana. Yeah, I'm speaking only about my region because I know the best. Yeah, and also in other regions. And they do not know the value. That's the key thing. And that's what it boils down to. These constant concepts of, oh, we need funding. Certainly, we need funding, but we've got already value here under our feet, yeah, in our hands. And there's also some research work which has been done, fantastic research work which I've seen, but people do not understand the value of it. And that's what we need to explore. That's the area, yeah? So be more introspective versus than outwardly looking.
Yeah. Prince, if I may ask
beautiful, fantastic idea of the monetization of expertise. Yes. So I'm not surprised you serve on the board in KNUST. So KNUST did a good headhunting.
That's a nice one. I mean, let's try to switch a little bit because of time. We'll come back to this topic. Dr. Proflati, I come back to you. You know, a lot of universities are implementing this PhD minimum criterion to be a lecturer faculty member. In your expert opinion, do you think a PhD makes one an excellent lecturer? Isn't a master's degree already enough?
When it comes to teaching, it's more of an art and the skill that individuals have. The ranks that they use in Ghana is a little bit different. My ranks start at the instructor level. We do have some instructors who are excellent teachers, way better than full professors. And we have full professors who are excellent teachers, way better than instructors. So when it comes to the skill of teaching, I will take ranks out, whether it is the minimum or the maximum. But in every field, there is that upward progression. You don't get stuck at the hiring level. You need to move up. Something will have to move you up. So what is the motivation that will help or make you move up? Is it at the lecturer level? And how far do you go? Because you're going to get stuck at a point. So that is, the minimum, and I don't know the minimum there because I've been away for 21 years. But with where I am now, we hire them at the assistant professor level if we want them to move up. If we don't want them to move up, and usually those are the, what you call the lecturer level, we call the instructor level, they do the most work. So for instance, if I hire you as an instructor, you're going to teach 5 courses per semester. However, if I hire you as an assistant professor, you're going to teach a maximum, it used to be a maximum of 3 courses because there is that expectation of research because you don't only teach. And as a professor, you need to upgrade yourself. You need to do the research and bring, today's knowledge to today's classroom. So we give you 3 courses and you do research, and there is that expectation of service as well. Service means, you sit on committees, you do a few things for your own community or whatever. Have that expectation, and you get the opportunity to also rise through the ranks until you get to the apex of the academic ranking. So talking about the minimum, probably, the world has changed. The world has changed, and you also want your own faculty to be comparable to everywhere else, because you have people bringing in their students on exchange, and your students also go somewhere else on exchange. Especially the foreign university, do they feel comfortable bringing their students to your university which has only lecturers? Because they're going to transfer the credits back, so you have to match it up. So if the PhD is the minimum, pretty much where I am, the PhD is the minimum for a tenure track line. If you don't want the tenure track line, then you can come in with a master's degree, but even with that, there are restrictions. You are coming in with a master's degree, you can only teach undergraduate courses, unless of course you have about 18 hours or more beyond your master's degree working towards your PhD. That is when we will allow you to teach. Actually, that's when our accrediting bodies will allow you to teach a graduate course.
Okay, that's quite interesting. You know, there is a big gap between industrial and academia research partnership in most African universities and institutions. What one criteria do you think in Africa has to be done in order to get industry interested in funding research activities? Dr. Bro.
Well, I think the critical bit is first, we need to kind of know about each other, if that makes sense. We need to kind of get to learn what we actually really do, how, and it's actually quite surprising because so both sides have got certain stereotypical perceptions about each entity, and you see that. I was also, I mean, I'm not excluding myself from this. What I noticed is that when I start to explore KNUST and what has been done, it's phenomenal. I mean, the work which is being done there is amazing. In terms of you know, engineering is a very strong area for them. The equipment they've got, the equipment they've built, opportunities they have. In fact, they have I think it's called a magic lab or a super lab, where they have introduced I think a scanning electron microscope, which is something which you don't find, and which is fascinating, or in the whole of kind of sub-Saharan Africa, and other universities are going there and doing their measurements. So it's about people getting to explore the industry as well on the other side, because in the industry, what you find is some companies are investing money in research work, yeah, where they are not making any money at all. They are working towards a goal, which is going to take them a couple of years. And the way they do it, and I know it for myself, because some large organizations, even from oil producing countries or companies which have got to do with the petrochemical side of things, have hired my company to do some testing and some development work of products. Yeah. And we see that many of these areas are outsourced to organizations like myself. Yeah. And so there is a change. And I also agree with Professor Rislati that the world is changing. We have to kind of really look what's really going on, not stay in our mental state of saying, okay, this is how it is. This is that's academia. Yeah, that's academia. Yeah, that's industry. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh no, it's totally different. So I mean, even the people who like ourselves who are in this industry, I'm surprised myself. So I have to always keep abreast of what is going on. So honestly speaking, to have a good collaboration, to answer your question, it's very important to start talking, and then you'll find an overlap of interests. That's the starting point. Then the second step, so that's the first step. Second step is to agree on projects which are risk averse, which are very low risk. Because everybody's about risk. The academia say, oh, that's risky. We don't want to do this with the industry, and the industry is going to say the same. Oh yeah, that's risky. They're going to ask. Academia is going to ask for too much money. You know, there's always this thing going on, yeah. And so it's important to to then say, okay, we're going to work on a project, yeah, and you guys are going to measure the pH. Come back to my story with the pH measurement, yeah. You guys are going to measure the pH, and we're going to measure the pH, yeah, yeah? And we're going to go into a joint venture, and everybody, you know, invests $5,000, yeah, low risk. If it's a bad outcome, okay, we haven't lost too much, yeah, could be worse. If we get something, yeah, that's a win-win. We can then go to bigger, you know, bigger projects. But it's the first step. Just find out about each other.
Okay. Thank you for that insightful submission. Dr. Noe, I come to you. Do you think this artificial gap between academia and the industry, it's because African scientists are not loud enough about the kind of work they do? Or is it because industries don't really trust the credibility of research that is being done by African scientists in Africa?
This is a difficult question. Number one, is there distrust? I don't seem to see that. Partly because I have been working with Novartis. I've been doing some other screening with other pharmaceutical companies. I know also a number of academics in Africa who are patenting big time and are getting the support of industry in another level. But if we are to go down to draw the fine line that will allow us to amplify the level of collaboration between industry and academia, and also the codependence to get things done, number one, I think the universities have to prioritize, number one. Like Brew mentioned, KNUST is very strong for, say, engineering. You go to, say, Ahmed Bello University, and they are very good for, say, a biological research. You go to University of Cape Town, they are very good for drug discovery. If we know you for a niche, it is easy to come to table with that. I think that is one big gap that is not clearly sold out. We are doing a lot, because if you tend to be doing everything, you become so thin. You don't get enough money, which is investment, which you need. And the companies also needs money. In other words, the return of what you give them gets them to the market, and they get their money back. So I think this is one thing. We have to amplify what we are very good in doing. And I think with that, we will be able to bring many on board.
Thank you very much. That was quite really fascinating and quite important. So viewers, if you just join us, you are watching the AfroScience Talk Show. And on today's episode, we are discussing about where a PhD can take you with a focus on academia. We have on show 4 very experienced and esteemed scientists. And at this position, I would go to the question and answers section, where I'll be reading some questions from our viewers to the panelists. So this question is from an anonymous attendee. He says, "Hello, I am an old student of Dr. Dakwa, and I wish he adds a word or two to my question. I wanted to find out, I am an engineer in Ghana. I have a deep love for research work, but don't want to be a lecturer. In this situation, what will be my options to choose a career and also considering a PhD?" Dr. Dakwa, did you hear me?
Well, his microphone is on mute.
Your microphone is on
Sorry.
mute, yes. I think this question was directed
okay
to you.
now. Yes. Is that the person wants to come into research
Yes.
from PhD,
No,
but
the
doesn't
question
want to come into academia.
exactly. Exactly. The person is considering a PhD, but does not want to come back, does not want to end up in academia, but wants to do research. So in this case, what are his career choices?
Oh, I think in our discussion, we've shown the track. Professor Latte mentioned the, okay, let me not go into Professor Latte's area because that's academia. I mentioned the CSIR as a path for non-academic researchers in Ghana, for example, same in South Africa. And we have it in different countries. We have similar things. I think Dr. Aniwe is a classical example of a non-academic, if I should say. Doc, did you see yourself like that, non-academic? It is pure research, but they are also independent. Let me also go further.
No,
they are also, sorry, Prince.
No, I didn't say anything. I'm listening.
Okay, sorry. There's also the other people that I know who are also consultants. And we have consultancy firms that are purely into this kind of work. All that they do is technology development. So yes, the person can go ahead, do all of that he wants to do, and then can come in and be part. These things have not caught up so much in Ghana. And that is where the trailblazers suffer. But why not? You know, every time everybody wants to have somebody tilling their ground, then they come and harvest. My question is, why don't you be the first to do a thing? So yes, do it, come in. If all things work for you, there are independent companies that have been set up by individuals and other entities in Ghana. I know some of them. You can find yourself there, and you earn good money. You get satisfied, and then all will be well with us.
Okay, Doc. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the answer. This question is coming from Obed Boache and is directed to Dr. Brew. He says, what is the place and necessity of funds and connections in starting your entrepreneurial journey as a fresh PhD holder in the diaspora and back home in Ghana?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
What is the place and necessity of funds and connections in starting your entrepreneurial journey as a fresh PhD holder in the diaspora and back home in Ghana?
Okay, well, this is an excellent question, actually. So when you're moving through your so-called career, sometimes you don't even know that's your career because you're just in the midst of a road. Sometimes things are not looking very good, yeah, but you don't know what's ahead of you. The key things which are always important are the networks. Yeah. So first come the networks, and then funds will follow from that. If you want to use that analogy, how it works is this, and it's very simple. I've seen it in my own life, and perhaps my colleagues, my astute colleagues, may have similar experiences. What I found is that so once you start working in your team, working in your area as a student, you've got your networks. So my peers told me about that work, that organization, the Fraunhofer Society. Yeah, they told me about that when I was a student, when I was an undergraduate student in Germany, and said you need to go there. You need to stay there. They're looking for somebody, you know. So I was taking some time off, and there's a guy. He came on a bike. He was also at my university, and he said, "Hey, I can't do this. I need somebody. Can you please do this for me? You need to go to the institute." It starts with the networks. It's building your networks. This is absolutely key. It's build the people around you. There are some people there which you have not noticed, but they are very valuable, more than gold, because they will point you in the right direction. So now I got to that place. I applied. I waited very nervously. I still remember I was with my parents at home, and my mom was laughing at me because she said, "Oh, you look so nervous. You can't wait." So, yes, I need to hear it. I need to hear it. You need to have your people around you. People are your network. Okay. So now, once you have achieved that, getting on board, on one step, you need to create new people around you again. It's a cycle. Yeah, it's a cycle. These are things which are not taught, and that's very sad. And that's why I'm happy to help as well. And I think you know, astute colleagues, I think this is something we need to do for the next generation. We need to explain to them how it works. It is indeed about the networks. Once you have that level of, you need to have friendships and partnerships around you all the time, yeah, where you are, particularly in your job, because they'll give you information which you've never heard of. And I think that's the key thing. And then, of course, as you progress, you will find the opportunity, well, okay, I need funds, yeah? The funds, where do I get the funds from? But opportunities mostly come with funds. If they don't, then there are different options. Maybe your university will finance half of it, or, you know, unfortunately, the Erasmus program is not working anymore. But, you know, things like that. But that's what I would say.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bruce, for the answer.
Yeah, can I add one more thing? And Dr. Bruce, thank you so much for bringing up networking. It is crucial. It's so crucial. And your advisors, your mentors, these are the people who connect you. The other thing is what are your skill sets? We cannot be good in everything. You may be good in one area, two areas. Please polish those skills very well.
Yeah.
It's crucial. See, you're going to get the calls because of your skill sets. No, I told you, I only went there to do statistics in health, biostatistics, and everybody thinks I am the number one statistician. I'm not. But it's an area that people struggle. So most of my publications that I have is all because of collaboration, because someone has collected the data, they don't know what to do with the data. They call me up, and that's my first thing. Say, if I'm analyzing this data for you, guess what? My name goes on it. Because I do the analysis and I do the write-up for you. And then you go and finish it up with your discussions. So if I'm doing this, my name is on it. So because of that, I get the emails and calls from sometimes most people I don't even know. But they will also give my name to somebody and say, oh, this person helped me, so go ahead. So most of the collaborators that I have, I don't know them. But it's because of just one skill set that I have. And I'm not 100%, no. But at least it is stronger than most people. And that is what is keeping me going.
And I must add, sorry, this is very important. What Professor Grislati says, this is so critical. You must be able to communicate. And what I found when I did this early career scientist training in 2017 in Ghana, that basic skills, just like skills on the phone, hello, my name is. These things are lacking. I get it all the time. I get a lot of customers calling all the time, yeah, in our office. And people cannot say, hello, my name is. As simple as that. And that distinguishes you. You will not believe this simple, primitive concept of communication. Now, you will stand above other people if you communicate like that. Hello, my name is this, and I'm sorry, do you have time to speak? These things will make such a difference. Yeah? And these are the basics which need to be also communicated. That's how you build your network. Say, hey, I know this person here. I know this guy, Johnny Coffee. He's really nice guy, and he communicates well. This is how it starts, and then the communication starts, because it's all about one thing at the end of the day. Will I be able to get on with that other person? That's what it boils down to. It's always the primitive thing, Will I like you? Will I be able to get on with you? Are you going to cause me problems? Are you going to cause me trauma and drama? We don't want that. Yeah? So that's kind of the thing. What it boils down to is about communication.
Yeah, I
Can I
perfectly
add a
agree.
bit of that?
Yes, Doc. Yeah, just a quick one.
Yes. just dovetail the trust issues with the communication. It's good to have the communication skills, but integrity is key.
Yeah.
Because somebody may give you the leverage, but can you deliver on that network? And would you be reliable?
Well, that's quite a powerful quote there. Thank you very much for that words of wisdom. And I perfectly also do agree that network is quite important in keeping close connections. The next question is coming from Obed Boache, and it is to Dr. Aniwe. And he says, what are the roadblocks of the biological sciences to materialize their research into quality standard and useful products which can be consumed locally?
Roadblock. No, so there are different levels of consumption here. You know, there is the initial research uptake, which you want to inform, or maybe so that it goes a long way to inform in a policy or something. That is, there is also the level of uptake, which is more like a translational, where you impact on, say, a delivery mechanism or maybe a mode of action to a particular activity. These are some of the things. But then the level to which you will be able to impact these confidently depends on how much evidence you have. And evidence in the face of integrity, as has already been alluded to, is gold. You get it that way. But one thing is that when we look in our part of the world, the health systems don't easily assimilate a lot from research. That is just because they don't have funding and their monies are not so much enough to be able to do that. But the other end that we do, in my case, for instance, because I have grants, that helps me do some of these things, is that I will already give them a leverage in them taking up what I am doing. So I will train you guys that this is the level that we are helping enrich the personnel in this facility on maybe say diagnosis. In our center here, we are into molecular diagnosis, designing chips. So we can come to a facility and tell you that, okay, these chips that we are designing, this is how you use it. We will train you. You aren't paying anything. But we just want you to help us evaluate. So they also being part of the data and also the acquisition of the knowledge also makes it easy. Later on, when you need them to take it up, it becomes easier. But I think this all thrives on either of us having a level of funding that will make the whole journey smooth. But if there aren't funding, I think when you get to them, you talk about what you have. The simple question is that how can we support you? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the money? Do we have the resource to really push you there? So I think, number one, in the biological setting, let's do a little more than, yes, you have the knowledge, you have generated a lot of data. Let's go and talk to the policy makers and also the implementers. Mostly in the health sector in Ghana, I like the implementers to carry it to the makers than makers bringing it down to implementers. It becomes a very big.
Okay. This question is coming from Adisola Tola. Hi, my question goes to Professor Grace Latte. As a PhD student in nursing science from one of the Hong Kong university whose intention is to be a faculty member in the West, what are the approaches that could help to be a potential candidate to be selected? She made mention of statistics in her introductory speech.
Thank you so much. And I don't remember the name, but so you are a PhD candidate now, and you want to move over. One of the few things that you want to start doing is to do presentations. And the good news is now most presentations are virtual. So your little publications that you have, present them to some of the nursing conferences, and I publish a lot, and I do a lot with the nursing faculty. The other thing you have to also look into is licensure. Where I am now, you must have a valid license, and not just a license, because this country is a federal state. So each state has their own licensure requirements. So wherever you want to go to, you want to look into their licensure requirements. And some of them will ask you to do a few things before then, but this is where the networking and collaboration come in. When you present, people see your research, people get interested, people partner with you. So as a student somewhere else, and you can send me, you can go through AfroScience and send me an email. I will try to connect you to some of my nursing colleagues, because I do work with them a lot. So that at least we can help you provide you with what you really need to do to be able to, if you're looking at this side of the world, to be able to move over here, since that is your ultimate goal. If you want to go somewhere else, it really doesn't matter. We still know people here and there. I know a few people in Canada. I know a few people in the UK. I will try to connect you to them, because they know their system better than I do to be able to go there. But collaboration, that expands your network, and that is how you're going to move over.
Okay, that's quite a nice one, Prof. Thank you very much. This question is quite a long one. I'll take my time to read through. It's coming from Seth, and he says, I'm a product of chemical engineering department from KNUST Ghana, and a student of Dr. Dakwa. From all the discussions so far, I believe then that lecturers set up undergraduate and graduate project works or research on areas they strongly believe will make a difference in either our community and industries at large. Why is it that we are unable to find means to get these thousands of projects work in developed solutions and local technologies? Why is it, what do you think why do you think this is difficult to do? How do we bridge this gap? What is it that the government do not supporting these transitions to amplify? Why is it that the government do not support these transitions to amplify these project works from the department and integrating this into a national industrial development framework? I think we have not been loud enough. Do you agree on that? If not, why? Dr. Dakwa, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. I think Seth, is it Seth Sapon?
It's just Seth, so.
Yes, Seth Sapon. So these are issues that we've been continuously been talking about. Yes, I wrote it here when Dr. Bree was talking. I wrote here as lack of advertisement by some researchers towards the amplification of the solutions that we have developed. I think part of the blame is up to us. We don't take opportunities. We are the proverbial Ghanaian. I don't want to step on those. Let me just take care of myself. And we are too comfortable with our monthly salaries. So we don't push. The industry and the people out there who are looking for the solutions, I'm sorry, sometimes do not know that we have the solutions. So once that gap is there, and having been in industry, once it has the need, will go global, look for whoever is advertising the solution. And because they have the resources, they'll go and buy the technology. There have been a few cases that we have shown, and continuously they've given us the opportunity to prove our worth and to prove that we are capable of delivering. I'll give you the classical example of this COVID opportunity. Who knew about Noguchi's sequential capacity until COVID presented itself? And then they sequenced, and in combination KCCR, took the upper part of Ghana. And now these two institutions have become household names in Ghana. Everybody now knows, at least in terms of microbial systems and analysis, they have the capacity to deliver world-class work. It's not because Dr. Aniwa is here, but until COVID came, I didn't even know that his part of the, what do you call it? Sorry, I don't have the full name.
Yeah.
They were in existence. I didn't know, but I knew of Noguchi. I knew of Noguchi's expansion program, but I didn't know I'm supposed to be part of the academia, relatively senior in the system. Why? Because we are comfortable. I'm sorry, I'm not pushing one institution against the other, but I think this is a cut across thing. Until we step out there and provide some volunteering solutions. And I've advocated for that. And Prince, you know, you have developed things in the lab scale. You have proven that the technology works. How would the man in Sankore, who is digging his gold, know that you have a solution for treating his wastewater, that he might have some mercury associated with it? Unless we go out there, unless we have linkages with the right officers across the divide, the whole value chain. So sometimes I have been in some meetings, some conferences. I'm sorry to say that I have been embarrassed that some researchers I'm sorry to use the phrase again, taking end users on why they didn't bring the business to them. And I ask myself, look, this is industry, and industry, success begets success. If they know that you have the capacity, they will give you the chance. I'll tell you, the little that we have proven in this country, they are giving us opportunities. Yes, I had the opportunity to become the head of department in chemical engineering. And Prince, you came to see it. And I'm proud to say that we proved to ourselves, and we are still showing as a department, producing detergents, meeting the needs of part of the university in the halls, as basic as that. Dr. Brew, does it answer the monetization of the expertise?
It's fantastic.
It also shows entrepreneurship.
That's excellent.
It opens opportunity. It opens opportunities for the students to learn that I'm not just coming to learn theoretical things, but whatever I'm taught in class can transfer into products, and there's a business side to it.
That's brilliant.
Then the uptake, as Dr. Anywhere is talking about, would kick in. It becomes obvious. But until we step out of our comfort zones, until we volunteer, lose some small apples, apples in terms of little monies, and then we get the gold, the big monies. Because having had the opportunity to now prove to people that you can do this in the lab, they give you the opportunity to do the pilot. And when you do the pilot and it's successful, they build the confidence. Now they can put big monies into your hands. And I am happy to say that we are having some of these success stories happening in Ghana right now, from KNUST, from other institutions that I know. And they are proving the technology. Some of these things we can share offline.
That's beautiful.
So, Prince, if I may add a word to this, I think now also as part of a new wave of the African Academy of Sciences, the centers of excellence across Africa are mandated now to have what is called public engagement officers.
Yes.
And to be real with you, we are doing that a lot. Our center, we do have a lot of engagement activities, but still we are not ahead. But we are pushing a bit more. It demands, but now that it has become a requirement, And to be real with you, scientists, one thing that we don't know how to do, and to be real with you, I advise everyone, is we don't know how to market.
Sorry, can
We
I
don't
just
know.
interject there, Dr. Anyway?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I need to quickly
No,
drop
just
it there.
go ahead,
That
please.
that is somebody's core business. So why don't we just recruit that person, give him that job to market and take a percentage of the product? And then we concentrate on producing what we are good at.
Well, that's quite an interesting and hot debate we just got right there. And we have about 15 minutes to go, and we have the last question here. The question is from Majid Lasisi. And my question is to Dr. Miniampo. Why have you decided not to come home after your PhD? Well, I'll give you an answer in this form. I will throw your question back to my panelists and I'll ask them this question so they answer you. What are some of the development African scientists are hoping to see on the continent that may make it easier for science and innovation to thrive in Africa? Yeah, Dr. Brew, can you take like 2 minutes to take this for us? I mean, I think your answer will answer the person who asked me the question.
Do you mean like what?
What are some of the development African scientists are hoping to see on the continent?
Oh, right. I mean, this is there are so many things. Really, we've got many opportunities. You know, we have we've got opportunities of spin out or spin off. As Dr. Onzakwa already said, you know, we've got the opportunity to monetize certain things, to do some scale up, to develop products there. There is a change in the moment now. And I think there's something else. It's not about hoping to see. It's about, in fact, actually us getting off our butt behind, standing up and doing something, because it is it's easy to grasp. It's all there, okay? The first thing what I can say is that put some little money in it, the company or the academic institution, and start a small project and work with the local community. Yeah, I'm working currently on another project as well, also with KNUST, with Professor Oduro. And the interesting thing is that it's also about all the community, because the communities are around you. And it's a huge economic hub. And it's not the hoping to see, it's about really doing things. Just grab and go for it. And the last thing which I would like to say as well, we have a new generation. So a new generation where the diaspora, of course, partly, who are get and go. Yeah, we are all get and go, of course. Yeah? We are active, and we need to infect the new generation and pass that baton on.
Right, Dr. Nwe, just a quick one. When you were speaking, you were talking about you having some funding and grants. Do you get this grant from the Ghana government? Or have you ever had any form of grant or research funding from the Ghana government?
Have I gotten grants? No, but I've gotten the support of the government in securing some grants in a way. Most of the grants are competitively won ones. You have to apply and you have to put your right foot forward and the best one, and you have to really show a little mastery in what you do. Like earlier mentioned, whatever you're doing, do it well.
So if I may interject, I mean, there are some cutting a fund from the government that you apply for. No, so there are no funds coming from the government that you can compete for.
So, like the African Centers of Excellence is government aided. It's more like a loan to government. So in that case, the centers I came into an African Center of Excellence, which had that footing. You get it? So I wouldn't say immediately on my direct research, government is not funding, but having funded the Center of Excellence and within which I am, I take it as a support in that case, but there is no direct government funding that is able to help in my research. Not.
Okay, so viewer, I hope your question has been answered. I am a scientist and I do research. And moving back to Ghana, I need money to do the research. So, I mean, having the opportunity to stay here, I'm able to get grants from the government to be able to do research with us has a global impact. So I might do research here, but you might sit in Ghana and still feel the impact of my research. Thank you. Dr. Dakwa, you wanted to say something?
Yes. My addition to Dr. Aniwe's contribution is that sometimes we also look at the funding in terms of only the physical, let me say, cash.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also have support systems, like what he did, what he talked about. I will give you some examples. There was World Bank allocated a lot of money for Ghana. Yes, it's a loan to Ghana. So it's the government that is responsible, but it is being disbursed to the funding the agencies that had to compete. So everything was facilitated with NCT. So you see government is in there, but it had to be spearheaded under the right arm. Yes, Ghana, they've been talking about the equivalent of the NRF, the National Research Fund. And we are yet to see that particular, but maybe that's the kind of thing that you are talking about. But we also had to apply to other agencies outside the continent, and you needed government support to show the relevance of that research that you are doing to the national development agenda. So, and then so you had to engage government agencies, convince them, and then go through. In one case, we had to engage about 2 ministries and get their buy-ins, and then they see the cost benefits analysis. And I didn't even know that what we were thinking was sitting right in the heart of what they had been discussing with other entities out there. So there should be that engagement, not only with industry, but also with government, that the academia, I'm happy to hear that Dr. Aniwe mentioned again that they have that, what we call liaison officer. I think it is far advanced. When we were young, undergraduate students, I remember we had liaison officers in engineering, at least that's where I was, undergraduate days, in KNUST. We've been advocating for that because it is very needful that those people who have the skills for negotiations, and I see that these are the benefits of having schooled in the developed countries, being in the Western. If you see the model that works well, why don't you adapt it and use it?
Okay. So we are coming to the end of our program. So I'll give my panelists roughly 30 seconds to give us their concluding remarks. So I'll start with Prof. Chris Latte.
All right, it's been a pleasure having all of you on this webinar, and I hope we're able to get you connected to us and to one another. We've become your resource persons and your network. So now you've expanded your network by at least 4. Get in touch. We may not be able to answer all your questions, but get in touch. We may be able to connect you to the right people and the right agencies to move forward. I think all of us said the same thing. We had mentors when we were coming up, and our mentors were extraordinary. They shaped our future for us, and we are so grateful to them. So expand your network and sharpen your skills.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Aniwe, can you give us a roughly 30 seconds conclusion?
Whichever level you are in your knowledge acquisition, you are the chief driver. Where you head, if it is into a wall, you know that your movement will be impeded. So please drive well, drive on the high road. And that is the highway. You need mentors. And I still come back to that. You need your own cloud. And like the saying goes, if it must be done, it must be done well. And Africa can only build and stand strong on the shoulders of its own children and citizens. And I will want to urge you, let us rise and build our continent. And it shall be a beacon in the coming years.
Thank you very much, Doc. Dr. Brew, a quick one on your conclusion.
Oh, I'd just like to thank you first for having me, and I'm very honored and very pleased that I've made a connection, and I have now expanded my network as well. I must say that, and I am sincerely really keen so that we stay in touch. The last word I have to say is that it's very important to follow your passion, and first, having your passion is one thing, but the second thing is that when challenges arise, and they will arise, as we know, always try to find a way around. There are different ways of thinking of a problem. Yeah, please always remember that there's always a solution. It does not seem like that. It may not feel like that, but you need to find it. There are always solutions. That's my last word.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brew. Dr. Lawrence Dakwa, can you
Thank
hear
you
me?
very much. Yes, I can hear you very well. Dr. Aminiampon, thank you very much for this opportunity to have these great panelists that have become part of my expanded network. It's been great. I've learned a lot from them as well, and from the questions that they have come up. My final words on PhD is that, as the name is, it's a doctor of philosophy. So at the end of the study, what would have been the philosophical outcome of the candidate's journey? It's very important that he must have developed a philosophy. But that philosophy, I would say, must not be seen as an end to itself, but maybe a starting of a long journey to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you all enjoy this thrilling episode. And we once again thank our panelists for being on the show. And to you, our audience, for making time to be with us. We hope to see you soon, where we bring you another exploding episode of AfroScience Talk Show. I would like to also thank all the AfroScience Network team, Dr. Sarah Boateng, Dr. Idris Ayman, Frederick Agama, and Bernard Jabin for all their hard work in putting this show together. Until we meet again, it's AfroScience Talk Show. Thank you very much. So my panelists, you please hold on for like 3 seconds whilst we take the audience off, and then we have a short, like a goodbye discussion before we all go.
Yeah.
Cyril, are you there? Cyril?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, so you have to take our audiences off whilst we end the show, and then...
Yes, we'll do that in a few minutes.
Oh, I really learned a lot today. It was quite a packed, quite a packed talk show. Quite interesting, having views from diverse backgrounds, industry and academia, and it was quite a rich discussion. And I would, on behalf of the AfroScience Network, where our main mission is to amplify the voices of African scientists, because we feel we the young ones, I mean, the older ones, we saw them with PhDs as a terminal degree. Terminal in the sense that they get it and they go on retirement. So most of the young ones were not motivated enough. But some